Hello ladies and gentlemen, I am the Grand Cat and today we are doing the Money in the Bank 2025 predictions. There's only 8 hours and 41 minutes left to get your predictions in. But first, we also have another couple of things because we have just completed the Jordynne Grace quest. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And we've also completed another objective from doing that. Oh, acquired muscle tokens. Unfortunately, we did not get a event Jordynne Grace from that special edition Jordynne Grace, but we do have one guaranteed from here. So there we go. We're going to go ahead and screenshot that. We're going to go ahead and lock that down. She should be very, very strong, and we are merely 19 muscle tokens away from getting the pro. And of course, you can do this 3 times. So winning another 50 games with a Jordynne Grace is going to get us another 20 muscle tokens, which will get us a pro, which is very, very cool indeed. And we also have our Ethan pages all ready to pro. There is our all ego Ethan pages. They both have their 100 matches. They both are level 100. They also have their variants, but you don't need to max out the variants. That's just an added bonus. And I'm going to go with this image, but let's go ahead and see what the pro looks like of our Ethan page here. And there we go. So there's not an awful lot going on. There's a little bit of shine, a little bit of a shimmer to the background of the all ego Ethan page himself with the ego's edge. And let's see what those cards now look like. Oh, so it does have a very cool startup animation, where the little crown in the background has a little bit of animation and movement to it. And of course, there is our Jordynne Grace, and we are able to swap the image. That was one thing that I wasn't sure if you were able to do or not. And I'm going to stick with this image because I think it is very, very cool, particularly with this special edition card. And without any further ado now, folks, let us now get into the watch party for the Money in the Bank predictions. So we have 4 matches on the card tonight. We are, I think, starting off with the one-on-one last chance match for the WWE Women's Intercontinental title, which is Lyra Valkyria versus Becky Lynch. And the stipulation here is if Lynch loses, she can no longer challenge for the title as long as Lyra Valkyria is champion. But if Valkyria loses, she'll be forced to raise the hand of Becky Lynch's hand and acknowledge Lynch as the better woman. Now, I would be stunned if Lyra Valkyria wins this one, because I think the only way for this feud to continue going, or for us to even move on, or the reason for any of this, is if Becky Lynch wins. Also, the whole thing of she has to raise her arm makes me think that there's going to be something that's going to happen with that. I'm wondering if maybe Becky Lynch is going to cheat to win, maybe use the title, maybe do a roll-up pin, put her foot in the ropes, something like that. Something that's a dishonourable way of winning, and then Lyra Valkyria is forced to acknowledge her as the better woman when she knows that she isn't. I could see there being some kind of tactic in there. Then we have the tag team match for no reason, where Cody Rhodes and the world champion Jey Uso are taking on the undisputed champion John Cena and Logan Paul. Now, there's 2 ways this could go. Either you could have Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso win because it's for no reason and it's just a feel-good moment for the pay-per-view. Or you have John Cena retain his undefeated streak since WrestleMania, and it also gets a lot of heat on John Cena and Logan Paul. Now, I think if John Cena and Logan Paul do lose, Logan Paul is the one that gets pinned, so that John Cena can say that he hasn't been pinned and he's still the unseen 17 greatest of all time. And I think if John Cena and Logan Paul win, that they could pin either Cody or Jey Uso. I don't know if they would want to pin Jey Uso because it might make him look weak as a world champion, or if they want to pin a returning Cody Rhodes because that might make him look weak in returning. So that one's a little bit up in the air, but I'm leaning more towards John Cena and Logan Paul winning. And I think they might win through some shenanigans, some chicanery. I think that Logan Paul might be up to something, or possibly even John Cena has some kind of run-in or such. I'm not entirely sure what happens in that match. I would be very surprised if it's just a clean match and Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso just win clean with no cheating or no interfering whatsoever. I think that there has to be something set up here that probably leads into SummerSlam, possibly, potentially. Then we have the women's in the backs, the women's in the backs, the Money in the Banks themselves. We'll start off with the women's one, which is Alexa Bliss versus Roxanne Perez, Rhea Ripley, Julia, Naomi, and Stephanie McMahon. Let's break this down. I would really like it to be Alexa Bliss. However, WWE seems incessant on not pushing her at all. It's very, very stop-start pushing, and I don't know what is going on with it. So I don't think she's winning the Money in the Bank, unfortunately. Roxanne Perez, if you know what is going on outside of WWE, I think she's going through a lot, and I think that they may not want to put her in a main event scene while that is going on. For those of you who don't know, her address was leaked, and there have been some quote-unquote fans that have been harassing her, and it is not a very, very cool situation for Roxanne. So I don't think that she is going to win this, unfortunately. Rhea Ripley, as much as I would like to see Rhea back in the main event scene once again, I don't think winning the Money in the Bank is the way to go about doing it. Julia and Stephanie McMahon are both brand new to the main roster, and it would be very, very cool to see them, like have a rocket strapped to them and, go all the way to the top. But my money is on Naomi, because the Money in the Bank tends to work best with a heel to sneakily cash in to try and win a championship. And it also gets a lot of heat on them. It also makes the babyface that loses the belt still look strong, even though they lose. And I really think that fits Naomi best. I could see SummerSlam being possibly Bianca Belair versus the likes of Io Sky, or maybe even Jade Cargill, and Naomi coming out and not even using the Money in the Bank briefcase, but costing them the match just because she's the constant distraction, and Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair going, why is this not over with yet? Why is Naomi still here? Why is she still interfering with her business? I think that would be the best storyline going forward. I don't think you want to go putting the briefcase, on Stephanie McMahon or Julia, even though they are both amazing competitors. I think it would be better for them to legitimately earn their way to a title match and win through a legitimate title match, rather than doing the sneaky tactics of, cashing in the middle of a match or just after a match or such. Then we have the men's Money in the Bank Championship match, which is Solo Sikoa versus LA Knight versus Penta versus Seth freaking Rollins versus Andrade versus El Grande Americano. Now, let's eliminate some of these first of all. I don't see Penta getting the Money in the Bank briefcase. I don't see him cashing in on someone. I don't think that's possible. I think the reason that Penta's in there is because he can do a very cool ladder spot. Now, we've seen Penta in the likes of AEW and things do some very cool things with ladders and steel cages, and of course doing a lot of high risk, high energy top rope moves and this sort. So I think we could see something exciting from that. LA Knight, I don't think needs the briefcase. I could see a scenario where he gets the briefcase and maybe have the briefcase customized to, his sort of demeanor. Maybe something that says yeah or something like this. But I don't see LA Knight winning this one. I don't think Andrade has realistically much of a chance of winning the Money in the Bank either. I don't think WWE are pushing him enough. I think Andrade is once again in there to do some cool ladder spots. That is the reason for it. Then we have the hilarious option of El Grande Americano winning. And it would be so funny if El Grande Americano, Chad Gable, wins, and then someone puts on the mask backstage and then runs out and cashes in the Money in the Bank while Chad Gable is in a match, and Chad Gable's like, what? No, I'm El Grande Americano. And then the entire thing turns from Chad Gable trying to pretend that he's not El Grande Americano to trying to convince everyone that he is El Grande Americano, and starts failing because he was so successful in making everyone believe that he wasn't El Grande Americano. And I think it would be really funny to have someone... I mean, like, the funniest thing would be the likes of R-Truth to come out wearing the El Grande Americano mask and none of the rest of El Grande Americano's gear, and then cash in the Money in the Bank, and the referee's like, oh, well, you've got the mask on, you must be him. I think something like that would be really funny, but unfortunately R-Truth is not with company anymore, so I don't know if they could do a joke spot with that, but I think that would be a really, really funny and really, really silly idea. But if you want a more serious answer, I think it's between Solo Sikoa and Seth freaking Rollins. Now, Seth freaking Rollins is the easy choice, because it's the one that makes most sense, because he's going to have big Bronson Reed and he's going to have Braun Breaker almost certainly at ringside, if not interfering at some point during the match. And it just makes sense to me that Seth freaking Rollins is the biggest star out of these six, and he's also a heel. And Seth freaking Rollins, with the Money in the Bank briefcase, we've seen before, is a menace with it. He knows how to do it. He knows how to make it into a good angle. And Seth freaking Rollins is the safe bet. However, if you want any chance of pushing Solo Sikoa and his part of the bloodline and him not being back, second in command to Jacob Fatu, putting the Money in the Bank briefcase on Solo Sikoa is probably the best way to do that. And of course, Solo Sikoa does have his own backup in the likes of Jacob Fatu and of course JC Mateo. And I mean, maybe at some point we might see a return of Tama Tonga and Tongaloa, but I don't know when that is going to happen, or even if they are cleared for wrestling, or whether they're injured. I think Tongaloa was injured during the War Games match. So that is where we're at with that. So my predictions, let's go over it, is I think Becky Lynch is going to beat Lyra Valkyria. So let's go ahead and take a look at females, and let's find our first Becky Lynch. There she is. Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso versus John Cena and Logan Paul. I think that is going to come down to John Cena and Logan Paul winning. So that is who I am going to put my bets on. Logan Paul, I don't think I've had a Logan Paul for a little while, so finding a good Logan Paul might be a little bit difficult. Also, if you guys are missing any cards, there's a free pack that is available on www.supercard.com, and it gives you a free Unhinged Penta, but it also gives you one of every competitor that's in the 2025 Money in the Bank pay-per-view. So that is really, really cool. If you're missing any wrestlers, you can go ahead and grab those. Now, my goodness, it has been a while since I have had a Logan Paul, it seems. Unless I went past one. I have a random Legion Miz there. There we go. There is a Logan Paul. He's not worth very many points. He's only 880 to Big John Cena's 4,035. Next up is the Women's Money in the Bank, which I think is going to be Naomi. Which works out well for me because I've got an Unhinged Pro Naomi as well. And then lastly is the Men's Money in the Bank briefcase, which I think is going to be Seth freaking Rollins, and it's been a little while since I've had a Seth freaking Rollins as well, so I'm just going to have to scroll down until I can find a Seth freaking Rollins. I'm sure that I probably went by one, and you're probably all shouting at me in the comment section. At least I'm hoping I've went by one, because I am not seeing a Seth freaking Rollins. Surely there's been some kind of event Seth freaking Rollins or such that I've picked up. There we go. They're all the way from back in, I think, last year's SummerSlam, if not the SummerSlam before that. And then we have one space in additional, because we've got the winner of the Lyra Valkyria versus Becky Lynch. We've got the tag match, which takes up 2 slots. We've got the women's Money in the Bank. We've got the men's Money in the Bank. And we have one free slot here. So what you can use this free slot on is for whoever else you think is the second most likely to win. Now, Solo Sikoa would be the intelligent one, But I can't help but think that I want to put down the hilarious option, and I am going with El Grande Americano himself. And those are my predictions. So, once again, let us just very quickly recap. I think Becky Lynch is beating Lyra Valkyria in order to keep the storyline going, or for any of the storylines to have ever made sense, and it's went all the way from WrestleMania, and it's already taken far too long, and I think it's about time that Becky Lynch defends the Intercontinental Championship against someone other than Lyra Valkyria. The Cody Rhodes versus Jey Uso, I could see it going either way, but I am leaning more towards... Did I say Cody Rhodes versus Jey Uso? No, Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso versus John Cena and Logan Paul. I could see it going either way, but I'm leaning more towards the heels, John Cena and Logan Paul, picking up the victory here, since this is a for no reason match, and I think this might try and build towards SummerSlam. We have the Women's Money in the Bank ladder match, which I think Naomi has the highest chance of winning. I could certainly see a position where Julia or Stephanie Mercure wins the Money in the Bank briefcase as well. I don't think it's going to be Alexa Bliss because WWE, for whatever reason, don't seem to want to push her. I think Roxanne Perez is dealing with a lot of stuff outside of WWE, and I think it's less likely that they're going to put the Money in the Bank briefcase on her. And Rhea Ripley, I don't think she needs the Money in the Bank briefcase in order to get back into the main event scene, so it's better to give it to another wrestler instead. Then the men's Money in the Bank briefcase. I could see Solo Sikoa being a contender. I don't think it's going to be LA Knight, Penta, or Andrade. I could also see Seth freaking Rollins being the most likely to win, and El Grande Americano could be the hilarious one to win, especially if someone else comes out. Sorry, I just logged in with my other phone there. I use two phones when I'm doing this, so that was me just doing that there, and I was literally just checking the time, and it was on WWE Supercard, so that's what happened there. But there we are, folks. So that is my predictions for the Money in the Bank watch party. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Let me know in the comment section below. I am, of course, very interested in hearing what everyone in the Grand Cat Grand Fleet has to say, but those are my predictions, and those are my thoughts behind them. With that said, folks, that is going to be it for this little video, and I really hope you've all enjoyed. And if you did enjoy it, please give me a like, share, and subscribe. And if you are subscribed, make sure you click that notification icon so that you can see when more of these glorious little videos go out. And we shall see you all in the next video. Goodbye, everybody.